Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. In this video, we're going to look at selection statement, specifically if and if else. So what is selection statement? Specifically if else. If else statement in C is used to perform the operation based on a specific condition. So let's say we have some statement inside an if block. The statements can only be executed if and only if the given condition is true. So let's have a closer look at that statement. Okay, in a flowchart, we represent if like this. Okay, we test the condition, and if it's true, we perform all the statements. If it false, we end the if and we go and do whatever the rest of the coding uh, in our coding. Okay, in terms of syntax, this is how it looks like. So we have if, inside the bracket we put all the condition, and after that we put a curly brackets and we put whatever statement that we want to be inside the if block, and then we close it with a curly bracket. Okay, next, the condition that we're going to test, kita test dia ikut these relational operators. Okay, if this relational operator is true, then only the statement inside the if block will be executed. Okay, for example, if we have a variable x, let's say. So we're going to test that variable x. Is it less than something? For example, if it's less than 0. If it's true, then only the if statement will be executed. And other operators that we can use are less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, equal, and finally not equal. So if it's correct, if for example x is less than 0, then the operator will return true or 1. If it's false, it will return 0. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's say I have this flowchart. This flowchart is actually from chapter 1. Alright, so we're going to take input from user, and then we're going to test that input or value, whether it's less than 0 or not. So if it's less than 0, we're going to print the value is negative, and then we're going to end our program. Okay, if it's false, then we're going to just end our program. Okay, so how does this looks like in terms of C coding? Okay, so let's look at it. First of all, the basics, put all the includes and our main function, open with a curly bracket. And since we are going to need an input from user, so we are going to ask, first of all, we're going to create a variable. In this case, let's just put it as an integer, and we name it same as the flowchart. Letak nama dia sama, value, and we ask the user to please enter an integer, and then we scan or we read the value, nombor yang user masukkan, kita baca dan we put it inside this variable value. Okay, and next is to execute this condition checking, and then proceed with our if block. Okay, so we test, is the value less than 0? So we put if, and then we put value less than 0. Okay, remember there's no semicolon here. Okay, and then we put the curly brackets, and then we inside that if block we're going to put this, because if it's true, we're going to print the value is negative. So we just put that one inside the curly bracket block, inside the if block. So if value less than 0, we print f the value is negative. And then we close our if block and we finish our program. Okay, so what's the output? Let's see the output. So this is the output. If a user enter a negative number, so we print out the value is negative. If the user enter other number besides negative negative number, the program will not do anything and just end the program. Okay, so let's try to modify that program. Now, next example, let's say we want to, this one is also from chapter 1, if you remember the flowchart. Okay, so let's say besides evaluating whether it's a negative value, kita nak evaluate juga sama ada dia kosong ataupun positif. So now we have two conditions that we need to check. Okay, first of all, yang macam tadi, we need to check whether it's a negative number or not. And then we want to check whether it's 0 ataupun positive. So we check. After we check whether it's negative, if it's true, we display the value is negative. If it's false, we check whether it's 0 or not. If it's 0, we display the value is 0. If it's a positive, if it's not 0, then if it's not negative, if it's not 0, then it must be a positive value. Okay, and then we end our program. So we need to modify our previous coding so that now it includes these two. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, again, this is the first few line here is the same as before. We check whether it's negative, and after this, what we do is that we add else if. Okay, so when we have another condition that we want to check, we put the statement as else if. It's just another if block, but we call it else if. Okay, so we check the second condition here, which is whether the value is 0. So if it's true, we execute display the value 0. So put that statement inside the second block. So this is the first block, if block, and this is the second if block, which we call else if. Else meaning selain jika tidak, right? Jika tidak, then proceed with the second condition, which is if value is equal to 0, we print the value is 0. Jika dua-duanya tidak betul, if both are not true, we proceed with the final statement, which is display the value is positive. So since this is the final statement, we don't have to test anything. So we just put it as else. Okay, else, and then open the curly bracket here. Okay, and then print f. The value is positive. And then we close the else. And finally, we finish our program. Okay, now sometimes if it's just one line like this, we don't need to put the curly brackets. Okay, it's optional. But if the statement is more than one line, we must put a curly bracket. Okay, just to be safe, just put the curly brackets. Okay, so what will be the output? Let's look at the output of this program. Now, for this particular program, our program has improved. First, it checks whether it's a negative or not. If I enter -4, then the value is negative. If I enter 0, the value is 0. And if I enter a positive number, it can detect that the value is positive. Okay, so that's how we do if, else statement. As an exercise, draw the flowchart and write the code for the following program. Read a number, determine if it's an odd or even number, and then display the output. Why don't you try to do this program? Okay, and we'll discuss the output during next class. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.